In order to understand a Cloud Access Security Broker (CASB), let's use an analogy of a castle. Now, in the olden days before the cloud, an organization's network was treated as a castle. So the network being its corporate data center, internal network, and all its stored data. And all of this, e.g. the castle, would need to be protected by the moat. And the moat would be all the perimeter defenses, such as firewalls, virtual private networks, VPNs, and IPS/IDS intrusion prevention systems and intrusion detection systems. And ultimately, all of these perimeter defenses would be to protect the company's data, e.g. the company's pot of gold. And to make the moat very clear, let's draw the firewall. That's a wall on fire, as well as the IPS and IDS systems that sit behind the firewall, just in case anybody gets past. And of course, sitting in front of the firewall is the VPN, Virtual Private Network, which is the drawbridge in this analogy. And the drawbridge is a controlled point of entry, e.g. VPN, that allows users into the castle, e.g. the internal network. And everything outside of the moat is considered hostile, e.g. untrusted, whereas everything inside the castle is considered trusted. So the goal is to prevent an attacker from crossing the moat, which breaches the perimeter. And if breached, the attacker has free rein inside of the castle and its boundaries. Although the castle boundaries is still protected by a firewall, that is the wall on fire. And the firewall uses rules to filter traffic which allows or denies access. Meaning even if the soldier on the horsey gets past the drawbridge, they are still faced with the firewall. CISSP CCSP exam tip. A firewall is great at stopping external threats, e.g. the invading soldier, but becomes ineffective once the invading soldier has breached the perimeter, e.g. has accessed the castle. And this is where you would hope the last resort of an IDS or an IPS would catch the soldier before it's too late. Now, to pause and recap. The castle and moat analogy described so far in this video is the traditional cybersecurity model, meaning before the cloud, and cloud-based approaches have complicated this analogy, and so in the next part of this video, let's get technical. By applying the modern cloud-based approaches to this original castle and moat analogy. You see, the cloud computing makes our original castle irrelevant because data is no longer in one place, e.g. our physical original castle. But instead, our data is now scattered virtually into one or many clouds in the sky. Oh yeah! And this cloud evolution has led to a new role, known as a Cloud Access Security Broker (CASB) or CASB. And the Cloud Access Security Broker has a very important role, because in this brave new cloud computing world, the traditional castle and moat no longer exists on physical land. E.g., we no longer have access to our physical data centers and infrastructure, and instead this is outsourced to the clouds in the sky. And thus the Cloud Access Security Broker would act as the security enforcement point, strategically positioned between the users and the cloud service providers to bridge any security gaps. And on the topic of bridges, you can think of the drawbridge as the VPN between the user and the cloud service. And you can think of each castle in the cloud as a VPC, Virtual Private Cloud, that is protected from the public internet. And virtual private clouds have additional security features known as security groups and access control lists, ACLs. Now, I covered VPCs, security groups, and ACLs in a separate technical video which is linked here. But for the purposes of this video, just understand that VPCs have these extra layers of security, the security group and the ACL, as an extra barrier to protect its virtual moat in the clouds. And in a similar way to the earlier example, which you can think of as an on-premise castle. Whereas this current example is a cloud example. Once the user or attacker crosses the bridge, e.g. the drawbridge, the VPN, they are considered inside the trusted network, aka the cloud. However, this is where the analogy gets interesting, because in the cloud, especially public clouds, there is a fundamental shift in the security model because data is everywhere in the cloud and access from the public internet is no longer considered safe, and a new security model known as zero trust comes into play. Now, zero trust in this analogy assumes that the castle walls, aka the VPCs, have already been broken down entirely. So the internal network is no longer trusted, but it's more zero trust. That means that every user, device and application within the internal network, e.g. the cloud, has to have strict verification for every request, regardless of whether it originates from inside or outside the network. Again, think zero trust, think trust no one. Of course, the caveat is that if you are a genuine user using a genuine channel, you will be approved through the ACL or the security groups, but if you are not, you will not be allowed access. Now, I won't cover zero trust in more detail than that, but if you wish to learn more, there is a separate video on my channel which I have linked here. Because for the remaining part of this video, I want to dispel a major misconception by CISSP and CCSP exam candidates. And this is the question of how is a cloud access service broker any different from a traditional web proxy or firewall? To help explain the answer, let's firstly turn our cloud access security broker horsey into a golden horsey, because then we can clearly draw the distinction between a traditional firewall and traditional web application firewall, WAF, in comparison to the new CASB, Cloud Access Security Broker. And the key technical keynote is that a cloud access security broker is not, I repeat, not a replacement for existing network security tools. In fact, it is a totally separate and differentiated market from the traditional firewalls and proxies such as WAFs. But at the same time, it complements these traditional technologies. You see, a CASB CASB can ingest log files from these traditional solutions, and then combine and match them with its own comprehensive technical cloud security logs, and indirectly can form a gap analysis on enforcement gaps with security controls and policies. And this is important to remember because a cloud access service broker was created to fill the gap that traditional network infrastructure could not fill when the cloud became the real deal. And of course, one huge benefit of a cloud access security broker is that all this enhanced visibility from being the security enforcement point prevents a lot of shadow IT applications, especially unapproved applications, because after all, everything has to go through the cloud access security broker. And not just that, it has multiple enhanced features and capabilities that go far beyond the traditional network infrastructure. The benefits of a CASB is much more than I can explain in this video, but at a very brief high level. This includes enhanced visibility to prevent shadow IT, various data loss prevention techniques, threat protection, compliance adherence, and what's more, a CASB can be deployed and operated in many advanced models, like forward proxy mode, e.g. user-side, or reverse proxy, e.g. cloud-side, or even API, application programming interface mode. I hope you found this video informative and enjoyable. If you did, it would be awesome if you could like and subscribe if not already to help support this new channel's growth, as I am a small content creator and every like and subscribe is the only way this channel will grow on YouTube. Thank you for watching today's video. I hope you enjoyed the content as much as I enjoyed creating it. If you would like to see more content like this, it would be super fantastic if you could leave a like and subscribe to help support this channel's growth.